Marvel is notoriously known for putting a bunch of Easter eggs and references in all their movies. Usually, as audiences, we are too absorbed in the great storytelling and iconic characters to notice them all right away. But there's no need to worry, because we've got you covered. And today, we are about to break down the top 15 most fascinating Easter eggs in the movie Spider-Man No Way Home. Warning: this video contains spoilers, so if you haven't watched the movie, go check it out and then continue on with the video. This is Varun from Rambling Film Crew, and without any further ado, let's get right into it. The movie picks up right after the end of Far From Home, where J. Jonah Jameson from the Daily Bugle releases a clip of Mysterio where he reveals the identity of Spider-Man as Peter Parker, after which the crowd mobs up around both Peter and MJ, chasing them around the streets of New York. Peter, in an effort to throw off the crowd, swings MJ through Times Square, where we see a billboard of Roger's Captain America musical, the same musical that was shown in the recent Disney Plus Hawkeye series. I could do this all. Maybe we could get to see Kate Bishop teaming up with a friendly neighborhood Spidey in future MCU projects. Who knows? Moving on, as Peter and MJ land on the Queensboro Bridge, they are spotted by passengers on the nearby Roosevelt Island tramway, a reference to the 2002 Sam Raimi Spider-Man film where the setting of the final battle takes place, where Green Goblin makes Peter choose between his love interest Mary Jane and the children on the tramway. After having his identity revealed, we see Peter and his friends getting arrested and taken up into the DODC, that is the Department of Damage Control's custody, the same department that was responsible for cleaning up the messes of the Avengers in the Homecoming movie. After which, we see a bombshell of an appearance from none other than Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock from the Netflix's Daredevil series, coming in as a legal counselor to help Peter and his friends. This detail can't be passed off as a minor one, as this just confirms the coexistence of other Marvel characters in the Netflix's universe as canon in the MCU. As a matter of fact, we also recently saw Cox's co-star Vincent D'Onofrio playing the role of Kingpin in the recent Hawkeye series, even further verifying the canonicity of these characters. As Peter and MJ FaceTime, we get to see a couple of sketches hanged up on the wall behind MJ, one involving a sketch of Peter with a rain cloud over his head, and the other one of Coach Wilson from the first movie Homecoming.
Why are you here? You don't even have detention.
Oh, I know. I just like coming here to sketch people in crisis. It's you.
There is also the same picture of her and Ned from the Homecoming, and also pictures of the pigeons she took in Venice. It's great for fans to see MJ opening up and coming out of her shell, showing us that she really cares for the people around her and that she indeed is a soft little goofball on the inside compared to her usual tough exterior. Later, while Peter and MJ are on the roof, we see a graffiti behind them that reads Ditko, which is a reference to Spider-Man co-creator and writer Steve Ditko. This is really cool, as Marvel never fails to pay tributes to all the people who have helped them bring all these amazing fictional characters to life that we audiences love and cherish today. Moving on, in the Sanctorum's dungeon, when the spell casted for Peter goes out of control and reality starts breaking, we see Doctor Strange trying to trap the spell in a prism-like structure, similar to how Strange Supreme in the What If series tries to trap Infinity Killmonger and Zola Ultron in the prism to contain the reality from breaking into chaos. But notice how this prism is made up of a dodecahedron. This is because if you watch that scene again, you'll notice that while casting the spell, Peter asks Strange to change it 5 times. One time for MJ, for Ned, for Aunt May, for Happy, and then for everyone who knew. But Strange mentions that he changed the spell 6 times. Maybe the 6th spell was for Strange himself, so that he could remember Peter, since a grumpy Sorcerer Supreme secretly cares for him. Next up, as we move towards the fight on the bridge scene, we can see that the license plate of the MIT admissions officer is 63A5M3, or read as 63ASM3, a reference to the 1963's Amazing Spider-Man issue number 3, the comic debut of Dr. Octopus, who appears in the same scene played once again by Alfred Molina from Sam Raimi's 2004 Spider-Man 2 film.
Hello, Peter.
Now, if you look closer at the claws, you'll notice that they light up red, implying that the claws are in control of Doc Ock's brain, suggesting that he was teleported into this reality before the final fight with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. As in the end of that film, the light flickers back to white, indicating that Doc Ock has taken back control of the tentacles. The Electro in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was quite blue. Some fans were dissatisfied with the design decision, as Electro is a human who wears a green suit with yellow lightning bolts and, to be honest, a somewhat silly lightning bolt mask that resembles a star in the comics. It's not uncommon for movies to alter their costumes for the big screen so that they don't appear too comical. However, Electro was a significant departure. Not only is it wonderful to see Electro with a more grounded suit, but there is also a nod to his famous star mask in this film. Later on, we see Norman Osborn, played by Willem Dafoe, in an alley arguing with his goblin mask, similar to how he did in the previous film. But the argument ends with him shattering his helmet. But even though he shatters his helmet, we can still hear the menacing laughter of the goblin in the background, telling us that breaking that mask did not destroy his villainous identity, it simply merged with him as a part of his own identity, as we'll see later on in the film. The scene focuses on the broken mask as Norman walks away, parallel to the one where Tobey Maguire's Peter leaves his suit behind in the trash. In the movie, there's a sly nod to Liz Toombs, the Vulture's daughter, whom Peter tried to date in Spider-Man Homecoming but had to abandon due to the whole "your father's a villain who wants to murder me" thing. We believe she still holds a grudge against Peter, since a picture appears on the front page of a magazine with the sentence, "He's a liar," in the scene where Doctor Strange is chasing Peter. A very distasteful comment from her, to be honest, but anyway, we are glad that Peter didn't end up with her, because we love to ship our Spidey with MJ and no one else. In the movie, Norman Osborn, while imprisoned in Doctor Strange's basement, offers to assist the group by healing other villains, claiming to be a scientist himself. This particular statement is from the first Spider-Man film, when Norman first meets Peter to mock him for not being a scientist.
I've heard so much about you.
Great honor to meet you, sir.
Harry tells me you're quite the science whiz. You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Next up is one of our favorite little details that was missed by most fans during the movie. It's when Tobey Maguire states that his back is stiff when warming up for the big final fight, a reference to a scene in Spider-Man 2 where Tobey injured his back, which is a reference to a real-life incident where a back injury reportedly cost Maguire his role in the first Spider-Man sequel. Speaking of favorite moments, this crafty little Easter egg was included in the film where all three Spider-Man point at each other and try to recreate the meme from the classic 1967 Spider-Man animated series. But we Marvel fans were surely quick to notice this funny bit being incorporated in the film. In an interview with Josh Horowitz, Andrew Garfield revealed how the live-action version of the Spider-Man pointing meme thing starring him, Tobey Maguire, and Tom Holland came into being. We were trying to figure the pointing thing, like how we going to do the pointing thing in a way that makes sense. It took us a while, Garfield said in the Happy Sad Confused podcast. One of the really warm yet heartbreaking scenes takes place during the third act of the film on the new and renovated Statue of Liberty. This is when Andrew Garfield's Peter saves Zendaya's MJ as she falls off the statue. We can see Andrew almost breaking down as he asks MJ if she's okay. This is because his Peter couldn't save his love Gwen from death in the previous film. This is mentioned earlier in the film as well, when he tells Tom Holland about her, and also when he watches Tom and MJ connect in the high school lab. We can see that he is reminded of Gwen, since his eyes convey the yearning and the anguish that he feels for her. But nonetheless, we are extremely happy for Andrew, as through this movie, he was finally able to receive the redemption that he's been waiting for, and sort of provide a closure for his character, since he wasn't given the third movie. Lastly, after the final battle, as reality starts breaking and the multiverse gets out of control, we get to see glimpses of dozens of glowing silhouettes starting to swarm into our universe. These glowing silhouettes are assumed to be villains from other universes who also know the true identity of Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker. we can see one guy holding a spear that appears to be Kraven the Hunter. As a matter of fact, Marvel initially planned on making Kraven the main villain of this third installment, but later, Sony decided to cast actor Aaron Taylor Johnson, who has played the role of Pietro Maximoff in the MCU, to play the role of Kraven the Hunter in a solo Sony film. Now, looking at the other glowing figures, we can also see one who looks like the villain Rhino, and one who is in the shape of a scorpion who looks like the comic accurate version of the villain Scorpio. Now, if MCU plans on bringing these characters to life, is something that we'll have to keep an eye out for. But in the meantime, if you want to get more such updates about new interesting movies and series, then make sure to drop in a like and subscribe to our channel. Until then, keep watching, keep rambling.